All right, Saints fans and who that's from all over the world, this is Kyle T. Mosley of the Saints News Radio Network. I'm here presenting the Second Line Halftime Report with Mr. Bob Rose of the Bayou Blitz and Mr. Brendan Boylin of the Butler's Pantry. How you guys doing?
Well, we're a little bit on, at least I'm a little bit on the edge of my seat right now. This is not a first half that I expected from our New Orleans Saints. But otherwise excited that NFL season is finally officially started again.
Yeah. Everybody's on pins and needles, and especially inside the Mercedes Superdome right now. Brendan, let me ask you this. Let me start with you. What's happening out there in Carolina, and how you feel about what's going on with the Saints?
Life's good in Carolina. It's busy. It's busy since I officially moved out here at the beginning of August. I think the one thing you can say, if you want to be the positive person here, it's that the offense is exactly what we thought it would be. We thought that the offense would be able to come out, and even without Mark Ingram, having Kamara was going to be a big piece of the puzzle moving forward to be the Debbie Downer. The little bit that we've seen of Mike Gillislee, I was really curious to see how Gillislee and Williams were going to work with Ingram's suspension. It's not looking too good. And the big one being Gillislee's fumble that was recovered and ran back for a touchdown. And then defensively, after having such a good season last year, and I know the first couple games of last season defensively were not the most fun thing to watch either, but you thought, man, you're taking on a backup quarterback, and yes, Fitzpatrick has had some highs in his career. He's also had a lot of lows. And to see a defense who has been unable to stop the run effectively today and allow Fitzpatrick to look like the $100 million man that Buffalo made him a few years ago is really concerning. No pressure up front. And that was something we kind of tried to address in the first round with Davenport, but haven't seen a lot of Davenport in the game today. We've seen a lot of Okafors recovering from the Achilles. There's just no pressure up front, and that makes it hard on those defensive backs. And you got to remember, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle defensively that were not here last year. Obviously, having P-Rob back in the secondary, you have Kurt Coleman in the secondary. Those are two new pieces. And, of course, Davis at middle linebacker. You have a lot of pieces moving around. This is still a team that's trying to figure it out. And, obviously, the first game of the season, the first time you get to really see how it all runs. But I think you're disappointed. And obviously going into the half, you've allowed 24 points if you're the defense. And then, like I said earlier, the Gillislee fumble recovery for a touchdown. You're kind of scratching your heads when you look at the defensive side of the ball. And you're also scratching your head thinking, well, how do we do this without Mark Ingram for 3.5 more games?
Well, if you look at the performance of Alvin Kamara, you have to say Mark Ingram, not really a big factor. The Saints still were able to put 24 points on the board. It's now 31-24. The Buccaneers have the 7-point advantage on the Saints. I think if you look at what the Saints defense has allowed, the 24 points they allowed, the blown assignments, especially on the first scoring play where P-Rob passed off Mike Evans to Deshaun Watson to Von Bell, and Von Bell passed him off to who knows who. It was just
the end zone.
The end zone, exactly. It was bewildering. So, Bob, I mean, and BB, we're talking about the Saints defense. They usually make great adjustments at halftime. Mm-hmm. Do you think this is the case? Well, I guess they have no other choice, right?
It can't get much worse. I tend to side, if I could put emotion aside, I tend to lean towards what Brendan was saying, that there's still a lot of moving parts to this defense. And I saw John Hendricks of Canal Street Chronicles, among a couple other people, tweet out, remember, guys, this is the first half of a long season, and tons of adjustments seem to be made, or need to be made, certainly, and will be made. But it's concerning that a Saints defense that we were applauding all offseason for their aggressiveness last season has been on their heels the entire first half, from the first drive on. They've been kept off balance by a good Buccaneers play calling attack. You got to give them credit. But zero pressures. Von Bell is playing like a lost rookie out there, which has me concerned. Mike Evans has made a couple plays over Lattimore, but you know what? I mean, as talented as Lattimore is, Evans is one of the more talented receivers in the NFL. That is going to be that's going to be a showdown worth watching for years to come. But if Lattimore is going to be expected to take on Evans, then the other Saints secondary members have to step it up. It's not like Fitzpatrick has forever back there to throw. The Buccaneers came in, and a lot of their pass Fitzpatrick's hands quickly, which prevents the Saints from really ratcheting up the pressure. What they need to do is stop the run. Especially against Peyton Barber and what we thought was going to be a suspect Buccaneers offensive line. This Saints front seven and front four in particular, they need to stop the run and make the Bucs one-dimensional because that's going to force Fitzpatrick to hold on to the ball on some of these pass attempts a little bit more. The Buccaneers scored 31 first-half points, 24 of them offensively. That ties a team record, a franchise record for them. So you just put that on the table and you leave it right there. You kind of shake your head and you say, okay, this is just one half of football. The defense has got to play better, and it's obviously going to be a shootout if the Saints are going to win this game. On the offensive side of the ball, I love New Orleans play calling so far. It's very aggressive, kind of pass happy, which is not surprising with Ingram being out. I know Gillislee put the ball on the ground. And Williams is kind of a plotter. I think Kamara has got to receive the bulk of the second half snaps because if you're going to win this game in the shootout, you got to have all your firepower available to you out there. I think the Saints are going to put more points on the board the second half. And like you said, Kyle and Brendan, you too, Dennis Allen and the defensive staff did a wonderful job of second half adjustments most of the year last year. We got to keep our fingers crossed that they come out and do that same thing. Remember, Tampa Bay's getting the ball first in the second half, so I think anyway that a stop on that first Buccaneers drive is key and could set the tone for the entire second half.
Definitely. Drew Brees is 17 of 21 for 238 yards with 2 touchdowns and rating of 145.6. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 11 of 14, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a perfect rating of 158.3. Wow. So, Brendan, question here. How do the Saints adjust?
Defensively, I think Bob just kind of hit the nail right on the head there. Was Peyton Barber averaging almost 6.5 yards per carry. Not something that the Bucs were very good at last year was running the ball. I think they've alluded to it on the broadcast up in the booth with Chris Myers a few times, saying that this is a team that really struggled to, find a running back that was going to take a bulk of the carries, especially with Doug Martin being hurt last year. Now Doug Martin moving on. But you got to stop the run first. The other thing is, Bob alluded to it as well, was that it's a lot of rhythm throws for Fitzpatrick, and especially when you have a game early in the season with the backup quarterback and you're not sure how long Fitzpatrick's going to be the starting quarterback, even if Winston comes back. They alluded to Winston maybe not even being the week 4 starter. You want to create a rhythm with these receivers because everything was kind of picked up a little quicker in the offseason, realizing, okay, we got to get this guy ready going with the first team. He got those first team reps in the preseason. He's getting these first team reps in game 1. Everything's got to be in rhythm. But if you put pressure on Fitzpatrick to kind of get out of that rhythm, and whether that be the defense causing 3 and outs or a turnover or shutting down the run, I mean, they all kind of go hand in hand there. If Fitzpatrick's forced to throw the ball, at some point he's going to hold the ball too long, or at some point he's going to try to force something. And I'm really looking at Cam Jordan in the second half. He had 2 tackles in the first half. I think a pressure or 2 as well. Whether it's him or Rankins or whether it's Okafor, somebody on the defensive line's got to get to Fitzpatrick, prevent him from getting out of the pocket. I think that's one thing that's been really underrated in Fitzpatrick's career is he's not a very speedy guy, but you don't have to be speedy to be mobile. And Fitzpatrick has been able to elude out of the pocket. You've seen a couple of times where it looks like a design quarterback draw where it's been Fitzpatrick really just reading man coverage and realizing I can pick up 4 or 5 yards, get down, and live to fight another day. And that's just great veteran quarterback presence by Fitzpatrick. Gotta contain it. You got to contain the little bit of mobility that he has, and you got to shut down the run. And hopefully Boot Gang comes out and makes a play defensively there in the second half, because one turnover could change the whole game for New Orleans. And anytime Drew's got the ball, you expect him to go down and score.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you this. The Saints linebacking core is hugely at fault in this. If you look at the couple of plays there, Demario Davis had the opportunity to defend O.J. Howard, but it's difficult, of course, because of his size. But they also have been guilty of leaking Barber. They've been guilty of allowing Fitzpatrick to be able to come out and pick up some yardage, and that's thrown these guys off balance. And again, where is the pressure? And this is one thing that was concerning me the entire preseason from our first unit in being consistent in putting pressure on to the quarterback. So, yeah, let's see how these guys are going to change it up. Davenport did almost make a outstanding play on the ball where he did affect Fitzpatrick's trajectory on one of the plays. He did play inside tackle one play as well. So we'll see how everything translates with him. I wonder if they would bring Trey Hendrickson off the bench to kind of help with the pressure. But you're right, man. That defensive line has to do better. The linebackers have to do better as well. And Von Bell, please get your mind in the game, young man. That was very concerning from what I saw there on that play. You do not allow anyone to get by you, especially at safety. I couldn't understand why they would be playing the zone in that particular instance, but that's what it looked like. Any last tidbits, Bob?
I just to second what both of you guys just basically said. I think the Saints defense has to match their
This conference is being recorded by the organizer.
I'm not worried about the New Orleans offense as long as they don't turn the ball over, and I'm looking around for a piece of wood to knock on. But yeah, the first series by really both sides of the ball, the New Orleans defense and the New Orleans offense, is going to be a key to setting the tone for the second half. Remember, this isn't doomsday, folks. They're only down by one score, and we're talking about a New Orleans offense with Breeze, Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Ted Ginn had a solid first half too that I think has gone unnoticed by us as well. They're playing winning football on the offensive side of the ball. We need the defensive playmakers to just make a couple of plays, and I think we'll be okay.
Right. The Saints and Tampa Bay now each have 14 first downs apiece. Wow, that's pretty explosive in the first half for any team to have 14 apiece. The third downs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have converted on 4 of 5. The Saints 3 of 5. The net yardage total, Tampa Bay at 278 and 274 for the Saints. So they just began the third quarter, and we will take it back to you guys, and hopefully our Saints will come back, make the adjustments, and prevail. This is Kyle T. Mosley of Saints News Radio with Bob Rose as well as Brendan Boylin. We'll see you guys later. Who dat?
Okay.